on this channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button and drop a like. It would really help the channel a lot. Coming up tomorrow, I will have the American Pie The Wedding review coming out. That's going to be an interesting one to get into. Hello there, people of YouTube, and welcome to the Spikehead Podcast, back again with some very unfinished business, because today I'm going to be talking about American Pie 3 The Wedding, or American Wedding, whichever you do prefer. The plot of this one is very simple. Jim proposes to his girlfriend Michelle from the first two films. She says yes, so let's plan a wedding. Now, this film did have a few things about it that could have held it back in a big way. A lot of the main cast from the first two films are no longer in this. No more Vicky, no more Nadia, not even Ozstriker, who was apparently left out of this film purely because they couldn't figure out anything to do with him. But when you look at Kevin's contribution in this film, it makes even less sense because Kevin quite literally has nothing to do in this film either, apart from look after Jim's grandma. Now, for these feature reviews, I won't be talking about positives, negatives, and then performances. I feel like from now on, my reviews are going to be completely bit all over the place, rounded up in an overall grade at the very end. And stick around after this review for a couple of little tidbits and a couple of little updates. And if you do like what I do in this channel, please feel free to hit that round subscribe button and drop a like as well. It would really mean a lot, especially after how long I have been gone from this platform. Now, this film is very much a Sean William Scott masterclass. This film has a lot going against it, but it does come up with two of the most iconic American Pie sequences ever. With one being the gay bar scene. This scene could have been very poorly handled, especially representing LGBTQ community. But for a film that came out in the early 2000s, it does a very good job of representing them. And the dance sequence between the two is fantastic. That was a weird thing about the early 2000s, is the fact there was a lot of dance sequences. White Chicks completely had one of those as well. But getting back on track, this was a fantastic little sequence. I just transition right into the bachelor party sequence. Now, the first two films, you had your webcam scene, and then they ripped it off in the second one with the lesbian couple, and it basically just repeated the exact sequence from the first one. This one had its own little sequence that was completely separate to the other two, didn't feel like they're ripping it off, but you can tell this was their big shock comedy moment, where it's bachelor party, they bring in a couple of strippers, a maid and a dominatrix, but it turns out Jim is actually meeting Michelle's parents, trying to convince them that he is the right husband for their daughter. Obviously, the boys don't know this because Jim was trying to make sure no one was around for this said meeting. So, as a result, shenanigans ensue. You have a chocolate-covered Finch going around the place. You have Kevin tied to a chair. It is a very funny sequence. And you have the guy that stiff out the dance sequence off, Belvedere, I think his name is, wearing these arseless cheap chaps playing the butler. He is probably the best part of this film as Belvedere, aside from Steve Stifler. Jim's dynamic with Michelle is very lackluster in this. Jim's sequences of comedy, even Jim's dad giving them advice sequences, those are not as strong as the first two, but there is still some heartfelt moments. I think one of the most heartfelt moments for me is when Jim's dad is talking to Michelle about vows and how she feels about Jim, because she doesn't know how to pronounce the vows, and it is a very sweet scene. There's a whole dynamic between Stifler and Finch where they're both trying to get with Michelle's sister, and they're both basically pretending to be each other. So you got Stifler trying to be Mr. Nice Guy, and you have Finch trying to be the Finchmeister, which was a fun aspect, but I don't feel like they really flesh it out as much as they really should have. Like I said, Kevin literally has nothing to do in this film. He's just there as Jim's friend, which is why I don't get why we couldn't have had more of Ozstriker in this film, because at least Oz and Kevin might have had their own little side piece. If it was just like a couple of scenes of them two having the conversation together away from the madness of this wedding planning, that would have been a lot more well done than just having Kevin just kind of be there. Also, it does annoy me a little bit that we get to see Jim's bachelor party, yet we don't see Michelle have a bachelorette party, and she only has one friend, which is her sister. I feel like Michelle being the big band geek and having all these band geek friends, that was an aspect that could have been explored a lot more, could have led to a bit more comedy, but unfortunately it didn't quite go through as that. It's funny how many characters are absent from this film. No Jessica, no Vicky, no Nadia, no Sherman. Yet we still get the MILF guys ready for that little MILF gag at the very end there. Because of course, spoiler alert, Finch gets with Stifler's mom again. And yeah, it's a fun little scene. I'm not going to lie about that there. The American Pie trilogy really set off the motion of events of these teen comedies. It led to things like Road Trip, Euro Trip, and even Sex Drive. And while none of them are truly great, apart from maybe Euro Trip, purely for the memes later down the line, it was a nice little trilogy, and this was a nice, wholesome way to end off the series. Though it feels like they could have put a few more characters within this show. Sean William Scott is obviously fantastic in this film as Steve Stifler. This was by far and away the Steve Stifler show. Alyson Hannigan, for when she is in it, she is fantastic as Michelle, and Jason Biggs, still playing the same character Jim, but he plays it expertly. And Eugene Levy is always a big smile to my face whenever I watch this as well. So overall, guys, American Wedding, while it isn't the greatest of the trilogy, honestly for me the first one is by far the best one out of the original trilogy. It is still a very good climax to this trilogy of these grossed out teen movies, and it's a fun ride. And watching all three back to back, it's nice to see the transition of them go from these desperate versions through to these grown up adults marrying each other, but they are still very much so a bunch of horny weirdos that just love to get into some hijinks. And for that reason, guys, I'm going to have to say that American Wedding is one of those films that just needs a bit more sugar. Now, I might go and do the rest of the American Pie franchise. You want me to do the spin-offs or even American Reunion? Please do let me know. And follow my social medias as well, because right now there should be a poll up about what film I'm going to be reviewing next, because I'm very happy to be back in the game. I'm catching up on a lot of films right now. Some great, some bad, some right down the middle. And it's going to be a fun one. This Sunday, I'm going to attempt to do an Academy Awards live stream reaction, and maybe I'll do a podcast later down the line just discussing what we thought about the results of said Academy Awards. And if you did enjoy the video, guys, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. We are so close to 100, and it would really mean a lot. It'll be the best welcome back present in the world. And until next time, guys, this is That Spikehead Podcast, signing off.